I never imagined a smell could follow you into the next room, the next day, the next life. But it did. Blood, copper, thick and metallic, decay, death, the kind of stench that clung to your clothes, your hair, your skin, and burrowed into your lungs so you couldn't tell if it was in the air or inside you. I walked into the apartment on North Wells Street just past midnight. Streetlights flickered outside. Rain slicked the sidewalks. Inside, the silence was so deep it pressed against my ears. My boots echoed on the hardwood floor, sharp, hollow, a warning I couldn't place. The first body was in the kitchen, a man, mid-30s, eyes wide in a frozen scream, his hands reaching for something he never touched. Blood pooled beneath him, dark and sticky, the smell rising in waves that made me gag. I took a deep breath. Steady, professional. Daniel Whitaker, crime scene cleaner. I had seen worse, I told myself, but nothing prepared me for this. The apartment felt alive. The air moved in subtle currents, like invisible hands brushing against my skin. Shadows shifted even when nothing moved. My flashlight trembled in my hand, casting long crooked lines across the walls, illuminating the jagged shapes of furniture knocked over. Personal belongings scattered like the memory of a life ripped apart. I approached the bedroom. The door creaked. I pushed it open. The floor was soaked. A young woman, mid-20s, her body twisted in ways it should never have. Limbs bent, skin pale and taut, eyes staring at nothing. And then I smelled her, something beyond death, a faint sweetness, beneath the iron, like decay had a taste. I swallowed. My stomach turned, my hands shook, but I kept working. The ritual of cleaning began. Gloves, disinfectant, neutralizer, wipes. I scrubbed, I sanitized, I mopped, I disinfected. I told myself this was my work, my life. This was what I did, but the apartment was not satisfied. It wanted more. The shadows grew longer. Shapes in the corners shifted when I wasn't looking. I felt them watching, waiting. My flashlight flickered. Something moved behind me. I whipped around. Nothing. Just the walls. But my pulse raced. My hands tightened on the mop handle. I could feel my skin crawl, hair standing on end. Something in the darkness was aware of me. Then I heard a soft, deliberate shuffle. Behind the bedroom door, I froze. Nothing I had ever seen, cleaned, or smelled could have prepared me for the sound of life, or whatever pretended to be life. In a room where life no longer belonged, I stepped forward. My flashlight caught a glimpse of her. The girl, not alive, not fully dead, eyes hollow, skin pale, lips stretched into a smile that should not exist. She did not move, but I could feel her attention on me, waiting. I backed away. The shadows behind her seemed to stretch and twist, reaching toward me. I told myself it was my imagination. My brain was overworked. Too many scenes of death. Too many lives cleaned. But then she whispered, "Daniel." I spun. Empty hallway. My flashlight fell. I fumbled for it, hands shaking. The shadows shifted again. The walls seemed to close in. I could feel the air thicken. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. And then the whisper came again. "Daniel." I ran out of the bedroom, across the apartment. I stumbled over chairs, over broken tables, over the traces of a life destroyed. The front door locked, as if the building itself had fused it to the frame. Panic clawed at me. I slammed my shoulder against it. Nothing. My flashlight skidded across the floor, illuminating the walls one last time. And then the girl appeared in front of me. Hollow eyes, blood-smeared hands. That impossible, cruel smile. "You cannot leave," she whispered. "You belong here." I bolted. Back to the only exit I knew, the fire escape. The door swung open. Cold rain hit my face. I ran. Streets of Chicago blurred beneath my boots, but even outside, I could feel it, watching. waiting, breathing. The apartment had claimed a part of me already, and I knew, as I looked back at the darkened windows of North Wells Street, that this was only the beginning. I could feel my pulse hammering in my ears as I stared at the loft on North Wells Street from the rain-slicked sidewalk. The building loomed, silent, waiting. Every instinct told me to turn around, to leave it behind, to run into the city's neon-lit streets and forget everything. But something drew me forward, a compulsion I could not resist. Inside, the air was thick, cold, heavy. The smell hit first iron, rot, something deeper I could not name. My boots echoed on the hardwood floors. My flashlight trembled in my hand. Shadows moved where they should not. The loft was alive. I knew it. I stepped into the hallway. Scratches covered the walls, jagged, frantic, carved as if by nails or claws. And then I saw it. My name, Daniel, repeated deeper than before, fresh, warm, as if the loft had written it for me. I swallowed. My hands shook. Every instinct screamed to leave, but I could not. I had to see, had to know. Then I heard it. A slow, deliberate breathing behind me. I spun. Empty hallway. But the air was different. Heavy, charged, watching, waiting. I moved. Forward, flashlight slicing through darkness. The kitchen came into view. The walls were splattered, streaked with patterns of red. Broken furniture twisted into grotesque shapes. And then I saw her dot, not alive, not dead. Something in between. Eyes hollow, skin pale, blood smeared across her hands. That impossible, cruel smile. She stood at the far end of the room, watching, waiting. I froze, my chest a cage of panic. My boots felt glued to the floor. My mind screamed to run. My body refused. Then the whispers began, soft at first. Inside my head, Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a broken chair. My flashlight flickered. The shadows behind her stretched, twisting, reaching for me. Faces appeared in the darkness, twisted, screaming, hollow-eyed. I gagged on the stench, on the fear, on the weight of something ancient pressing down on me. I remembered the spray in my truck, my last defense. Desperation fueled my movements. I lunged for it, sprayed blindly. Cold mist hit her face. She vanished. Silence. The loft settled. My chest heaved, but I knew she had been there, and she would return. I ran to the front door, locked, fused. Panic tore at my chest. I slammed my shoulder. Nothing. My flashlight rolled across the floor, illuminating the walls one last time. Shadows writhed. The whispers grew. Daniel, Daniel. I bolted for the fire escape. Cold rain hit my face. Streets of Chicago blurred beneath my boots. Neon reflections danced across the puddles, mocking the nightmare I left behind. Even outside, I could feel it, watching, breathing, waiting. The loft had claimed a part of me already, and I knew, as I glanced back at the darkened windows, that this was only the beginning. Sleep had abandoned me. Not a wink, not even a moment of peace. Whispers followed me everywhere in the apartment, on the subway, even in the crowded streets of Logan Square. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. My own name, a knife twisting in my skull. I had no choice. I returned to the loft on North Wells Street. Rain slicked the streets. Neon lights reflected off puddles, fractured, mocking. My boots echoed. Every step closer, my stomach knotted tighter. I wanted to turn back. I could not. Inside, the apartment was alive. The walls pulsed, breathing. Shadows moved in corners, twisting impossibly, reaching. The air was thick, pressing against my chest, making every breath a battle. Then I saw her. The girl, blood-smeared hands, hollow eyes, that impossible, cruel smile. She did not move. She simply watched, and I felt a presence behind her. Darker, older, watching, waiting. I tried to speak, My voice caught, choked. My hands trembled as I raised the spray. The mist hit nothing. She vanished, and the shadows surged. Faces of the dead I had cleaned for, twisted from the walls and floors. Hollow eyes, screaming mouths. Reaching I ran, down the hall. Hallways twisted impossibly. Doors opened to the same room. Ceilings stretched. Floors fell away. I was trapped in a maze designed to crush me. I remembered the journal I had glimpsed weeks ago. Notes, names, dates, sketches of bodies, patterns. The last entry spoke of something beneath the floorboards. Something ancient, something alive, something that fed. I descended into the basement. The stairs groaned under my weight. Darkness swallowed me. My flashlight flickered. The air grew colder, thicker, suffocating. The pit waited, deeper than night. Eyes glowed from the blackness. Watching, waiting, breathing. She appeared beside me, blood dripping, smiling, hollow eyes boring into mine. "You cannot leave," she whispered inside my head. "You belong here." Shadows wrapped around my legs. Faces of the dead pressed close, screaming silently, reaching, pulling. My body slammed into the floor. Pain tore through me. My vision blurred. Then I heard it. A voice. Older. Deeper. Harold Green. The original owner of the loft. Something that had fed before her. Laughing. Inside the pit. "Welcome. You belong," I screamed. The shadows surged. The loft itself trembled. I thought I would be consumed. Thought the darkness would take me whole. But then, silence. Complete, suffocating silence. I was alone, trembling, gasping, changed, hollow, and I knew this was only the beginning. The loft had marked me, and it would call again. I could not sleep, not a single moment. The whispers followed me everywhere through the streets, through my apartment in Logan Square, through every reflection in the windows. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. My own name, carved into my skull. The loft called me back. I knew I had no choice, not out of courage, not out of hope, but because it was waiting, patient, hungry, and it had marked me. The rain-slicked streets of Chicago mirrored my anxiety. Neon lights fractured into broken mirrors across the puddles. The building loomed, silent, malignant. My boots echoed as I stepped inside. The door groaned as if warning me to leave. The air hit me first, thick, metallic, latent. Shadows moved independently of the light. Walls breathed. The apartment pulsed around me, alive, watching. Then I saw her, the girl, blood dripping from her hands, hollow eyes fixed on mine, that impossible smile. She moved closer without a sound, gliding across the floor like she had no weight. "You cannot leave," she whispered inside my mind. "You belong here." I tried to run. The hallway twisted impossibly. Doors opened to the same room, over and over. Ceilings fell, floors heaved. The apartment was alive, rearranging itself to trap me. Shadows reached, twisting into faces of the dead I had cleaned for. Screaming silently, pressing close, I stumbled into the bedroom. The bed was gone. In its place, a pit, endless, blacker than night, breathing, waiting. Something moved inside. Hands, faces, eyes. A presence older than the loft, darker than death. The girl came closer, cold, radiating from her, suffocating. I sprayed her. Mist hit nothing. She was already inside my mind, whispering Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. The shadows surged. Faces pressed in from every angle. I collapsed to the floor. My chest burned. My lungs screamed. My mind threatened to snap, and then I heard it. A voice, not hers. Older, deeper. Harold Green, the original owner. A presence beneath the floorboards, laughing. "Welcome. You belong." I understood. The loft was alive. It was not her. She was its herald, and I was prey. I tried to escape. I stumbled, fell, scrambled toward the pit. Shadows clawed at me, faces twisting, screaming. Pain tore through my body. My vision blurred, and then silence. A pause. The loft seemed to breathe, waiting for my next move. I was alive, barely, shaking, hollowed, marked. I knew this was far from over. The loft had claimed a piece of me, and it would call again. I could not stay away. Every night, every shadow in my apartment in Logan Square, I heard her. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. I tried to drown it out: music, television, friends, but it was always there, gnawing at the edges of my mind. I returned to North Wells Street that evening. Rain slicked the streets. Neon reflections fractured in puddles like broken glass. The building loomed, silent and patient. I gripped my flashlight like a lifeline, my chest tight with fear and anticipation. Inside, the loft was alive again. Rooms twisted impossibly. Walls pulsed. Shadows moved where they should not. The smell of iron, rot, and something older than death filled the air. I swallowed hard and stepped forward. The kitchen was gone. In its place, a room I did not recognize. Endless dark, stretching beyond reason. The floor beneath me seemed to breathe. I froze. Then I saw her, standing at the far end, blood dripping, hollow eyes fixed on mine. That smile, impossible. She moved without sound. Every step closer made the air colder, and then the shadows moved. Faces emerging from walls, ceilings, floors, screaming silently, reaching, pulling. I could feel the weight of hundreds of unseen eyes, watching, judging, hunger in the air. Her voice filled my mind. You cannot leave. You belong here, forever. I tried to run. The hallway stretched impossibly. Every door led back to the same room. Shadows multiplied. Faces of the dead I had cleaned for stared at me, eyes hollow, mouths whispering my name. I remembered the coroner's journal I had seen weeks ago. Names, dates, sketches of bodies, notes about patterns. The last entry spoke of something beneath the floorboards, something ancient, something that feeds. I had to find it, not to fight, not to destroy, but to understand. The loft was alive, and she was its herald. I descended into the basement. The stairs groaned under my weight. Darkness swallowed me whole. I fumbled for my flashlight. The beam landed on a pit, deep, endless, blacker than night. A smell rose from a iron rot, something older than death. Then I saw it. Eyes, too many eyes, watching, waiting. The whispers became a scream. Daniel, Daniel. She appeared beside me, smiling, blood dripping, and I understood. The loft did not want me dead. It wanted me changed, consumed, made part of it. I screamed, I fought, I sprayed. Nothing worked. The thing in the pit rose. Shadows poured from it like water. Faces of the dead twisted, writhing. Then it spoke. Not her voice. Something older, deeper, terrible. Welcome. You belong. I knew, in that moment, there was no escape, no way out. The loft had claimed me, and when I tried to run, the shadows reached and pulled. I woke in my apartment in Logan Square, drenched in sweat. The whispers had not stopped. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. Every shadow in the room twisted when I blinked. I could feel it in my bones. The loft had marked me. I had no choice. I had to go back. I had to face it. Not to conquer, not to escape, but because it was waiting, patient, hungry, and it had left its mark on me. The streets of Chicago were slick with rain. Neon reflected in puddles like shattered glass. The building loomed ahead, silent and malignant. My boots echoed. Every instinct screamed to turn back. Every fiber of my being wanted to flee. Inside, the loft was alive. Shadows shifted. Walls pulsed. The air thickened. The smell of iron rot and something older than death burned in my nose. My flashlight trembled in my hand. I followed her. The girl, blood dripping from her hands. hollow eyes fixed on mine, that impossible smile. She did not move. She glided. She waited. "Do you see now?" she whispered inside my head. "He is beneath us, waiting, feeding. You are next." The basement stairs groaned beneath my weight. Darkness swallowed me whole. The pit waited. Eyes glowed in the black, endless and hungry. I felt it before I saw it. The presence of something older than the building, older than death itself. Shadows surged. Faces of the dead pressed close, screaming silently, reaching. My body slammed into the floor. Pain tore through me. Then I remembered the coroner's journal. Names, dates, patterns carved in blood. A rhythm, a chant. Words meant to confront what lived beneath the floorboards. I recited them aloud. The shadows twisted, shrieking, writhing. The girl screamed inside my head. "You cannot do this. You will belong." I kept chanting, step by step, toward the pit. The darkness responded. The shadows recoiled. Faces of the dead twisted, disappeared, and then I saw it. The thing beneath the floor, eyes everywhere, watching, waiting, hunger, Harold Green. The presence of the original owner, twisted and alive in the darkness. It surged toward me. Shadows curling around my legs, faces pressing close. I fell, slammed against the floor. Thought I would die. Thought the loft had claimed me finally. But then a click, a pulse. The shadows faltered. The girl shrieked. The darkness recoiled. The loft trembled. I had touched it. I had done something right. A spark of control, a chance, but I was not free. Not yet. The loft remembered, and it waited. I could feel the loft breathing around me. Every step, every whisper, every heartbeat, it pulsed with a life older than the city itself. I knew it waited for me. Hungry, patient. I returned to the apartment on North Wells Street. Rain-slicked streets reflected fractured neon lights. My boots echoed. The building loomed, silent and malignant. Every instinct screamed to turn back. But I could not. Not now. Inside, the air was heavy, thick with decay and iron. Shadows twisted. Walls pulsed. Rooms shifted impossibly. I gripped the coroner's journal like a lifeline. Names, dates, patterns carved in blood. Notes from someone who had tried to survive before me. Then she appeared. The girl, blood smeared across her hands. Hollow eyes locked on mine. That impossible smile. She glided closer. "You cannot leave," she whispered inside my mind. "You belong here." Shadows erupted around me. Faces of the dead I had cleaned for twisted from walls and floors. Screaming silently, reaching, my chest tightened. My legs refused to move. I chanted the patterns from the journal aloud. Names, dates, carved phrases. The shadows recoiled. The pit in the basement pulsed in response. A presence older than the loft, darker than death, waited beneath the floorboards. Harold Green, hungry, watching. The girl lunged, faster than I could react. Blood sprayed across my face. I stumbled backward, clutching the journal. Shadows surged, twisting around my legs, pulling, tugging. Pain tore through me. And then light, a pulse, a vibration through the floor. The shadows shrieked, faces contorted, twisting, writhing. The girl screamed, a sound no human could make. The loft itself trembled, walls folding, ceilings collapsing, floors shattering. I fell to my knees, coughing, trembling, gasping. For the first time, I felt control. A spark. The pit recoiled. The shadows twisted away. The girl vanished. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. I knew I was alive. Barely. Hollow. Shaken. But not free. The loft had marked me. It would call again. Patient. Hungry. And I understood I had survived. But only for now. The loft was alive. I knew it now. Every heartbeat. Every breath. Every shadow moving across the walls confirmed it. I had touched the darkness in the pit, and it had felt me, recognized me, wanted me. I stayed inside. I could not leave. Not yet. Not with the ritual half complete. The city outside continued, oblivious, but I was trapped in this twisting theater of shadows. The girl appeared first, blood dripping from her hands, hollow eyes fixed on mine. That smile, she whispered inside my head. You cannot finish. You will belong. I ignored her, focused on the journal, the pages damp with sweat, smeared with blood from a cut I had given myself while descending the stairs. I read the words aloud, names, dates, phrases, carved in patterns I had seen before. Patterns that made the shadows tremble. The air shifted, heavy, cold, pressure on my chest. Walls breathed, floor quivered, faces appeared in the shadows, hollow, twisted, screaming silently. Reaching dot, then the whispers multiplied. Not just her, hundreds. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. I stumbled backward. Flashlight flickered. She lunged. Blood splattered across my face. Her eyes bore into mine. I shouted the words from the journal. The shadows recoiled. The pit trembled. Something screamed beneath the floorboards, a sound that ripped through me. I fell to my knees, coughing, shaking. The shadows surged again. Faces pressed against me. I could not move, could not breathe, could not think. The girl smiled wider. You cannot stop it. I slammed the journal onto the floor. Words glowed faintly in the darkness. The chant continued. Something inside the pit responded. The shadows shrieked, twisted, retreated. For the first time I felt control, and then the loft shifted. Rooms twisted impossibly. Ceilings vanished. Floors fell away. The girl screamed. Not human. Something older, crueler. I ran. Stairs twisted beneath me. Hallways elongated. Every turn led me back to the pit. The journal fell from my hands. I dove for it, clutched it, shouted the words again. The pit opened wider. Darkness surged. Faces of the dead writhed. Then, silence. Complete silence. I stood there, gasping, trembling, alone, and then I heard it. A single whisper, soft, intimate. Daniel. I froze. It was her, watching, waiting, but for the first time, I felt a spark of defiance. I would not belong, not yet. I could feel it watching me. Every step, every breath, every heartbeat. The loft itself pulsed with life, hunger, patience, malice. The girl appeared first, gliding across the floor. Hollow eyes locked on mine, blood smeared across her hands. That impossible smile. She whispered in my mind. Daniel. Shadows erupted. Faces of the dead I had cleaned for twisted from walls and floors. Hollow eyes, screaming mouths, reaching, pulling. I clutched the coroner's journal. Names, dates, patterns, words carved in blood that pulsed in my hands. I recited them aloud, voice shaking, guttural, desperate. The loft reacted. Rooms twisted, floors heaved. Ceilings stretched impossibly. The pit in the basement yawned wider than ever. Darkness poured out like a tidal wave of nightmares. Eyes glowed in the black, watching, waiting. The girl lunged, faster than I could react. I fell backward, clutching the journal to my chest. Shadows coiled around me, faces pressing, screaming silently, and then light, sharp, violent. The shadows screamed, faces contorted, twisted, writhing. The girl shrieked, a sound that no human could make. The loft itself trembled. Walls folded, ceilings collapsed, floors shattered. I fell to my knees, coughing, gasping, trembling. The shadows receded. The pit shrank. The girl vanished. Silence, heavy, suffocating. I was alive, barely, hollowed, shaken, but I knew it was not over. Not really. The loft remembered. It waited, it fed, and I had touched it, felt it, survived it. Somewhere, deep beneath North Wells Street, It whispered my name, Daniel Whitaker. Forever, I returned to my apartment in Logan Square, soaked in sweat, trembling, and hollow. The city outside moved on as if nothing had happened. Neon lights reflected off wet streets. Cars passed. People laughed. I could hear none of it. The loft's whispers still followed me. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. Sleep was impossible. Shadows twisted in my apartment. Every reflection warped. Faces appeared for a heartbeat, then vanished. I was not alone. I had brought a part of the loft back with me. I tried to reach out for help. Friends, police, anyone. No one would understand. Who could? I cleaned up death for a living, and now death had touched me. I was the story no one would read, the nightmare no one would believe. Yet I felt drawn back. The loft, North Wells Street, the pit, the girl, Harold Green, waiting, patient, hungry. I returned once more, not to fight, not to escape, to understand. The building was silent, empty, but the air hummed, heavy, alive, watching. I walked through the twisted hallways. Walls whispered, shadows stretched, faces of the dead emerged and vanished. The pit was gone or hidden. I did not care. Then she appeared, the girl, smiling, blood dripping, hollow eyes. You survived, for now, but you cannot escape, she whispered inside my mind. I swallowed hard. I nodded. She was right. The loft had claimed a part of me. I could feel it in my blood, my bones. I belonged here. Somehow, back in my apartment, I tried to live a normal life. Work, friends, streets of Chicago. But the whispers never stopped. Shadows moved where they should not. Reflections warped. Faces appeared and vanished. And every night, when the lights went out, I heard her. Daniel, I belonged to her, to the loft, to the darkness beneath North Wells Street. And I knew, one day, she would call me back, and I would go, because the loft waits forever.